This is Head Bustin' Boxing, and we are back in the house. And in this video, we're gonna go into the whole Dillian Whyte fiasco again, and we also go touch on Andy Ruiz and why he should stay the hell away from the UK. And we all know that Dillian Whyte tested positive for PEDs, PEDs, whatever you want to call them. But it goes a whole lot deeper than that. And based off of what I'm hearing, it's no way in hell, if I was Andy Ruiz, I would go to Europe to defend my titles. No way, no how. I think I would have to agree with Fanon on this one. I think I would have to relinquish my titles before I would go over there and let them rob me. And let them get scattered across the boxing, the heavyweight division, and go win them again before I just hand them to AJ. Because if he goes to Europe, that's in fact what he's going to do, unless he just knocks him out again. And don't be so. Matter of fact, you know what? Let's just get into the article so you will see exactly what I'm talking about. This is Team Rivas members detail gloves dispute in Whyte fight, and it ain't just about the gloves. Now, this article really ain't even talking about the drug ped thing, but we're going to talk about that too. All right, it says Russ Amber, a member of Oscar Rivas' corner and CEO of Rival Boxing, detailed the events that prompted to their team to file an appeal with the WBC regarding the selection of gloves by Dillian Whyte. See, what we don't know is, or didn't know, they had already filed an appeal before the fight started. And no, it was not based off of the fact that Dillian Whyte had been found with PEDs in the system. No, oh no, it's way more than that. They wasn't even aware of that at this point in time. Then it says there's already a mountain of controversy hanging over the fight. A BoxingScene.com first broke on Wednesday. Whyte had testified positive for a banned substance on July 17, but the UKAD, a British boxing board of control, allowed the boxer to move forward without the bout because Whyte appealed and requested that his B sample get tested. Now, all right, we got to stop there for a second. Over in Europe, when you get found with something in your system, until the appeal thing is dealt with, then they won't stop you from fighting. So in other words, as long as he appealed, he was going to be allowed to fight. So when Eddie Hearn came out and said, well, you know, he was allowed to fight, you know, based off of the rules and all, he wasn't lying. The way they have it set up is a little crazy compared to over here, because there's no way they're going to allow somebody to get in the ring that was tested positive, especially without allowing the other people that he's fighting, allowing them to at least be aware of it. Then it says, Abner explained that their appeal was filed before the contest took place on Saturday night, which saw Whyte win a 12-round unanimous decision to capture the WBC interim heavyweight title. Now, I quote, "It was an exciting fight, no doubt about it. We knew it was going to be a tough fight for Oscar. Dillian has proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that he's a world-class heavyweight," Abner stated. He comes on in leaps and bounds, and a lot of credit for that has to go to trainer Mark Tibbs for the works he's done with him. On the night, Dillian fought a very smart fight. He used his jab well and boxed the fight he needed to. I felt that Oscar did himself proud and fought one of the best fights of his career considering the level of opposition he was up against. I said to him after the fight it was probably the best performance of his career. He had Dillian hurt in the 8th and looked like he was on the verge of getting him out of there. Oscar himself was hurt in the 2nd round after winning the 1st round and showed a lot of heart and determination throughout. So it was a good fight. But having said that, here in the Rivas camp, we weren't happy with the job the referee did and with some other stuff that went on. Now that's another bit of controversy dealing with the referee, but to me that's small potatoes compared to some of this other stuff. You can work around the referee a little bit. Just if he's calling you for low blows, then you might have to, you know, stop throwing body shots, even though that is a disadvantage to somebody that throws a lot of body punches or whatnot. But your cornermen have to work the referees too. I mean, you know, if you're landing low blows and the other person is pulling your head down, and that's the reason why the low blows are occurring, then your cornermen have to make that known. But anyway, it says we actually filed an official protest to the WBC prior to the fight because of some things that happened beforehand. Our protest was filed before the boxers even entered the ring, so it's not a case of sour grapes because Oscar lost. It all goes back to the day before the fight when we had the rules meeting and glove selections meeting with the various officials and the British Boxing Board of Controls. Now, this means this ain't just dealing with Eddie Hearn and Dillian White's trainer and such. They're dealing with the British Boxing Board of Control. To be honest, I can't begin to express our disappointment with everything that happened. The double standard started when we brought an extra pair of gloves to the glove selection meeting and were told we couldn't bring the pair of gloves in. We asked why not, and were told it was because they had to be brought in by the promoter. Now check this. It says, well, our promoter, Ivan Michael, was in the room with us. What difference does it really make who physically carries the gloves in, the promoter or someone else to give to the promoter? That's semantics. Anyway, we ended up not being allowed to submit these additional gloves. Thankfully, it says we ended up not being allowed to submit these additional gloves. Thankfully, we didn't end up needing them, but it was an example of what was to come. On fight night, about a half an hour before we were set to go into the ring, the white camp suddenly told us they were not wearing the gloves that they selected at the glove selection meeting. Now, first of all, they weren't allowed to bring in their extra pair of gloves, right? Because you have first pair of gloves, second pair of gloves, basically a backup pair. They weren't allowed to bring their backup pair in. Then Dillian White and his team, they did bring 2 pair of gloves in, but did not choose to use either one that they had selected for the gloves meeting. Now it says not the number 1 pair that they selected and not the number 2 pair either, but another brand of gloves that weren't even on the table at the glove selection. Of course, we protested and said, what was the point of having the glove selection meeting if you're going to wear whatever you want? At the meeting, Dillian's representative Mark Tibbs had chosen the 2 sets of gloves and signed them off. This is supposed to be proper procedure, and they're breaking it. Anyway, I'll continue, and he quotes, no one said at the rules meeting, oh, by the way, if on the night you want to switch gloves, you can. To make the matters worse, not only was Dillian allowed to wear these new gloves, I mean, it gets worse, but he was already gloved up and we weren't even allowed to inspect them. Bear in mind, his camp inspected our gloves. They knew what we were wearing. In contrast, we had no idea what they were using because they were allowed to pick whatever gloves they wanted, tape it up, and put them on. Even after we reluctantly agreed to let them make the change, we still weren't allowed to see the gloves. It's insane, and created the impression that something was going on, that there was something being hidden. I mean, if those weren't the gloves they were going to use all along, why not select them and bring them to the glove selection meeting? That would make sense, would it not? If it was a late change for some reason that was needed of the night, why not allow us the courtesy of inspecting the gloves as you do at a glove selection meeting? What was going on? I don't get it. We saw Dillian's hands wrapped, but not the gloves being put on. We couldn't examine the gloves. And when we protested, we were told too bad by the board officials. Now, that's why I pointed out, they're dealing with the board, the people who run things, not just Eddie Hearn and Dillian White's camp. This is the official board that they're dealing with. Effectively, they said they weren't going to make him take his gloves off. They're on already. The fight's about to start. Well, it takes 90 seconds at most to put on or take off a pair of gloves. So why not allow us the courtesy of being able to see the gloves? All that happened was everything ended up being shrouded in controversy and didn't look transparent. We filed our protest before we even went into the ring. And can you blame us? I mean, can you imagine if the boot was on the other foot and such a situation occurred, say, for a British fighter fighting an American in America, for Caleb Smith or for Anthony Joshua? They would have been held to pay, and rightfully so. When Vasily Lomachenko, whose corner I was working, fought Anthony Crolla earlier this year, Joe Gallagher made sure that Lomachenko gloves were waived by the California Athletic Commission. And he was right to do so. He was allowed and entitled to do that. I say that as someone who was working for the opposing fighter. Quite simple, we should have been allowed to weigh the gloves and inspect the gloves. Our complaint isn't against Dillian and his camp. I understand when you go into a fight, your camp does everything it can to give your man the edge. That's part of the gamesmanship of boxing. But that's why the commissioners are there, to ensure that transparency and fairness, and to protect both fighters, not only one. Board Chairman Robert Smith is a very fair man. I never had any issues with him, but he wasn't at the fight on Saturday. Another thing we weren't happy with was that the referee was all over Rivas the whole fight. Every little infraction was told, don't do this or don't do that. Whereas if Dillian did something, it passed. All the borderline stuff was called for Rivas, but not for Dillian. I spent most of my years in boxing on the road. Hell, my fighter Otis Grant, who I took from the amateurs to the world title, was known as a road warrior and had to beat Ryan Rhodes in Sheffield to win the WBO title. So I know the score. No one travels won any special favors. You just want a level playing field. But time and time again, you see situations all over the world where the rules are applied differently for the home fighter. And the away fighter, or for the A side, opposed to the B side. We see it recently with Gennady Golovkin and Steve Rhodes in New York. It's not right, and unless someone speaks out about it, it's not nothing will change. Now, that was a long article. That was a lot of reading, and I hope you made it through all of that, because I have a lot to say about this. And this is more, in my opinion, a warning to Andy Ruiz. Andy, if by any chance you read this article, or see this video, or see another video talking about it, or another article talking about it, take heed to what you're seeing being done over there in Europe. I understand you already said you don't want to go. Double up on that mind state. It's nowhere in the world you're going to get. Think about this. Think about this real quick. Think about this. If Oscar Rivas couldn't get a fair shot against Dillian Whyte, do you really think Andy Ruiz is going to get a fair shot against AJ, against Anthony Joshua? It's no way in hell he'll get a fair shake over there. No way. No way. Eddie Hearn and the British Boxing Commission, or whatever it's called, they'll try every trick in the book to make sure he leaves empty-handed without those titles. He would absolutely have to knock AJ out to walk away with those titles. He will be against the referees. He'll be against, like, every little detail. They will try to make him at a disadvantage, from gloves to maybe ring padding, whatever. The way the ropes, or whether the ropes are tight or loose, any type of advantage or for Joshua they could provide, it will be provided. Any type of disadvantage that they could throw Andy Ruiz's way, I'm pretty sure they're going to do it. So Andy, please do yourself a favor. As a fellow American, stay your butt in America to defend that title against AJ. Either that or make him go to Mexico. One or the other. But do not go to the UK. I said again, if you really think they gave Oscar Rivas that much trouble, what do you expect they're going to do to Andy Ruiz when he goes over there to fight AJ? Because, I mean, Dillian Whyte is a good fighter. But he ain't at the stature of AJ. And I'm not even necessarily talking about ability, even though I agree with that too. I'm talking about far as what he means to British boxing. That's Dillian White. He on that second tier compared to AJ far as what he means to British boxing. He's secondary compared to AJ. And if you really think they're going to let Andy Ruiz go, if Andy Ruiz dropped Anthony Joshua, it wouldn't surprise me if they say it was a legal blow. Like, matter of fact, I'll say this. Let's say it was an exact duplicate of the fight that happened in New York. The exact duplicate. That punch or punches that he landed against AJ to knock him down initially, he might have got pointed for that. He might have got pointed for that. Andy Ruiz, do not go to the UK. Stay in America. I heard the brother Fanon say it the other day, and I'm not affiliated with him, but I do like watching some of his videos. I would have to agree with what he said. Shout out to Fanon, by the way. He would be better off just dropping those titles and let everybody fight over them like roaches on crumbs on the floor, and then collect them back yourself instead of going over there to get robbed, because that's exactly what's going to happen. And that's pretty much all I got. Oh, and notice, I read the entire article. Notice I didn't say anything in here about the whole drug situation, because at the time they didn't even know about that. They didn't even know. That's just another part. Like you got the whole behind the scenes stuff with the gloves and whatnot. That's shaky. The whole referee thing, that's shaky. Heck, as far as I'm concerned, even the scoring might have been a little shaky. The judges, that is. Then to take all of that and ball that up, you could throw that aside. That's nothing. The man came in the ring dirty, and they allowed it. And not only did they allow it, they ain't even tell Oscar Rivas and his team. Andy Ruiz, if they did that to him, they might drug you over there, put something in your system. And if you do beat AJ, like, well, hold up, he failed his test. I wouldn't put them past that. Don't go to the UK. Don't go to the UK. But anyway, let me shut this out. Let me get off here because I'm pissed. I can't believe the crap I'm reading. But anyway, this is Head Busting Boxing Fight Doctor. Hit that like button, hit that share button, hit that subscribe button. Hit me up in the comment section and let me know how you feel about some of the stuff that is coming out after the Oscar Rivas Dillian White fight. Should the WBC throw that crap out? Should Dillian White wind up with a loss on his resume for that? Should it be a no contest? Hit me up and let me know what you think. Should Dillian White be suspended? Should it be some ramifications for the crap that they pulled behind the scenes? Hit me up and let me know. But anyway, this is Head Busting Boxing Fight Doctor. I am out.